The Houston Texans plus 122 in the money line here, 2.5-point underdogs. Do you like the Browns advancing here with their defense and the Joe Flacco is elite company, or does Houston with the home field and riding that CJ train like Manny likes to talk about will get them to the W?
I think on paper, it's very, very clear the Browns are the better team.
Yep.
I think the Texans can win this game.
Yep.
I'm not overly committing to a side here just yet, but again, I like that they get to play at home. I think if this is in Cleveland, it's a much different game. Look, the Texans defense has issues. I mean, they had trouble stopping. They could not stop Jonathan Taylor last week, and the Browns make their living again. I know everyone's talking about, what Flacco has done since he's come back here, but he's able to do what he does because of their unbelievable running game that they're able to just sort of build around here. They have one of the best offensive lines in football. Jerome Ford has been a godsend for them this year. They get the power of Kareem Hunt, mixing it up there. If this was in Cleveland, I think it's a different game. I think the Texans find a way to hang in here. And just because, you know what, man, I'm not in a space right now where I feel like betting against CJ Stroud. Now, am I going to hammer him to win his first playoff game as an underdog? No. I think this game right now, it feels like a stay away because I think it's going to be a really, really good game. I don't lean any major side, but if you put a gun to my head, I think I would lean the Texans.
No, I share the exact same sentiment. It's like the Browns to me are clearly the better team, clearly should win. Something about fading CJ Stroud, something about fading the Texans' first playoff game in a while back home doesn't feel right to me. I'm probably going to be personally putting some coin on the Texans, but this is a toss-up for me. I'm taking the Texans, though. I'm going to have to officially take the Texans.
Yeah, I want to take the Browns because of their defense, but I want to root for CJ. So
it's just one of those situations. It's like me with the Natty. It's me with the Natty tonight. I want to take the Penix.
That's why I took the over, Kenny. I did take the over in that game, in the chip game. Just got to root for points. I don't know who's going to win, so I just root for points.
Yeah, I hope it's 100 through 100. Just give us that.
Yeah, because last year was done by the first quarter, and I at least want to watch the game. I try to sit there and watch the game. All right, to our Saturday night game. We just briefly touched on this a little bit. The Dolphins and the Chiefs, Tyreek Hill making his long-awaited return to Arrowhead Stadium and Kansas City as the Dolphins losing the division last night. Plus 154 underdogs, 3.5-point underdogs. I feel like just early leans here. I understand we just lost and we're soft and everyone's out here calling us fraudulent. I got to give the edge to the Dolphins because nobody on this Chiefs team is scaring me. They don't have enough weapons to compete. If you just put roster to roster up there, the Dolphins line up better, in my opinion, and I think the Dolphins can win this one. Goodbye, Pat Mahomes.
I agree. I think the Dolphins can hang in this game. I think I don't know what this opened at. I know the total has gotten bet down a little bit. I mean, the weather is the story right here. People are freaking out because it's going to be cold. It's really going to depend on the wind. If it's just cold, and again, I know you look at Tua's record in the cold speaks for itself, but dude, if you've made your career betting against Patrick Mahomes, you're bankrupt, right? I mean, it is not financially responsible to bet against this guy or to count him out. He is a freakazoid. He's the best player in the NFL, and he's still the best player that I've ever seen. With that said, this Chiefs team is not the Chiefs team from last year. This offense has no rhythm. They are like clearly you look at the value that, just with Eric Bieniemy, running the offense. I mean, just it's an entirely different scheme this year that is just not working. The personnel is awful. They have one of the worst receiving cores that I've ever seen. You've got Travis Kelce, who clearly isn't healthy. He hasn't been healthy since the year started. He had that bone bruise going into week 1, and he just looked slow the entire year. I know everyone's talking about the Taylor Swift and the distraction narrative and all this, but at the end of the day, man, the guy's getting older. He hasn't been healthy this year. The explosiveness isn't there. And I think throughout the year, the Chiefs offense looked clunky the entire year. And every single week, people just kept expecting them to figure it out. And Mahomes is just going to Mahomes their way to blow out victories. And it hasn't happened. And I think assuming that it's just going to click again because it's the playoffs, I think is a bold move. So obviously, like everybody else, I'm very excited for this game. And you couldn't have asked for a better wild card weekend playoff game on a Saturday night. But I think both of these teams have major flaws right now. And despite what we saw last night and despite what we've seen from Miami in recent weeks, if they come in a little more healthy next week, I think 3.5 is too many. If at 3.5, I think I would take the points and go Dolphins.
Yeah, so I'm personally going to say the Chiefs advance. I think you have to watch this spread super close. 3.5 is completely disrespectful, especially now that 2.5 is a key number now, and it's not really 3. If it goes up to something like 4, people like KC, like you got to take the Dolphins spread. But I think something has to be said. Kansas City's a whole different team now. This defense is something that they really lean on and something they've been leaning on, and it kind of what has been saving their season. And the running game. Like, this is a team that, we talk about how Miami wasn't really physical. That's 2 parts of the game where I think, especially in playoff football, cold playoff football back in Arrowhead, I think this is what they're going to really lean on, is that identity that the Chiefs have now. And you saw the Dolphins. I know Travis Kelce had a bad year. Saw the Dolphins just struggle mightily with Dalton Kincaid, and I would be shocked if Andy and Pat don't watch that film, look at Travis, and go, listen, buddy, you can give us a dub here. We can win. We know some easy coverages we can win on. I think just because of the physicality and some of the matches that we saw from how the Dolphins got exposed, I'm going to go to Chiefs to win a close one in Arrowhead. A real close one. I'm thinking like a game-winning field goal. We might see like a little rig. Pat Mahomes crying for a holding penalty. They might get it. But I got the Chiefs in a close one, just because of physicality.
Hey, and Peacock is now finding a way to cash out on this. This is our Tyreek Hill, return from Miami or return to Arrowhead. We all want to see that game, and of course, Peacock has to swoop in and say, "Hey, it's pay to play, it's pay to win, it's pay to watch."
It's unbelievable. Like, that's such a middle finger to like everyone around the country. Like, look, like if you're, I'm sure most millennials, you can find a way to stream it. You go to the bar that it's going to be on, but like, I don't know, if you're like my dad, he doesn't know what the fuck Peacock is.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna. And I think a lot of old heads aren't going to know that this is the case until it's 8 o'clock on Saturday and they can't find the game, and then they're going to lose their mind.